Hey, welcome back everyone to another video. So, if you've watched last week's video, I've arrived in Tokyo. So, I've pretty much settled in after a week. I've got a pretty nice place, I'm close to the park, I take lots of walks through the park. It's really nice and relaxing. I was feeling a tiny bit burned out on development, but I had the chance to relax and I think I'm ready to continue working on the game. So the last two devlogs were more like story time videos where I didn't actually show any progress on the game, but I just talked about some stuff. So I got back into development fortunately, and I hope I can just show more of these normal devlogs on the game from now. So I've been in a Discord group with other solo developers where we give feedback on our games, and one of the responses I got from both the Discord and from the YouTube comments is that the game looks too much like another platformer. So to differentiate the game from these other platformers, I decided to add the trick texts. So when you do a trick, you can see a little bit of text about the trick and the points that you've earned, similar to the Tony Hawk games or any other sports game. So now if you do, let's say, a front flip, you can see a little bit of text here. I also added some animation to make it look nice, make it look fulfilling, make it look satisfying. So you can also do a back flip and it will differentiate between a back flip and a front flip. And of course you can also do the vault, and you can even do multiple vaults. So instead of just showing the word vault 3 times, I actually wanted to show double vault or triple vault, just to make it look a bit more satisfying, and I think it sounds more satisfying to do a triple vault instead of doing vault, 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 pretty much. So you can also link different moves together, so you can do a vault flip here, for example, vault plus front flip, and you can also do it the other way around, front flip plus vault. And you can see you get a little bit more points because you've made a combo. When you do multiple vaults, you can also see you start off with 20 points, and as you do more vaults, the score increases. So when you do a single vault, you will get 20 points, and if you do multiple vaults, you will get more points as kind of a reward for linking multiple moves together. So I hope that this helps to show that the game is not just another platformer, and show that it's more like a extreme sports type of game. More like a parkour game in this case. So another thing I did that was bothering me was if you would do a vault on the floor, the game wouldn't really know what to do. It would just fall, or it would just do a vault, and I decided to implement like a belly slide. So now when you vault, you actually slide along on your belly. So you can do cool things like slide down this hill, for example, with a vault. But in some cases, when you miss the vault, you should actually be punished. So when you vault over this thing and you miss, it's kind of a mistake, right? Like you missed the vault on top of the object. So a consequence is that you're slower, like you cannot, like you lose some speed, and that's the punishment that you get for missing the vault. I think a good example is when you try to vault on here, and you have to jump to get up, and then you kind of miss the line. You cannot complete the line. So you either have to wait till you're done sliding and then continue moving, or you have to vault, then do a little jump and stop moving, and it's kind of a punishment, like you lose some speed and your overall time for completing the stage will be lower. So one more thing I wanted to try was add some animations for the front flip and the back flip. So right now when you do a flip, the player just stays into the jump animation. And I think it looks good, but I thought it might look better if the character like curves their body. Like when you do a front flip, you kinda move your body weight forward, and when you do a back flip, you move your body weight backwards. So I wanted to try and see if it looks better and if it feels better. But it turns out it just looks kind of strange. I think the animation needs more frames for different parts of the flip. So when you start the flip, your body position should be different as when you're halfway in the flip. So I decided to just drop that and just keep it like this, since adding multiple animations during the flip will make it kind of hard to see the angle of your character, like which point on the rotation the character is. So I think you will get confused on how far you are and did you already finish the flip, or yeah, I think it will kind of jarring. So I just decided to keep this animation, the jumping animation. It's easier to follow the rotation of the character and therefore easier for the player to see when you're about to land. So in the last video someone asked to explain some more code stuff, so I'm going to try to explain something real quickly. It usually takes a lot of time to get into this code stuff, since there's a huge code base behind the game. So for the character I'm using a special stat system. If you think of an RPG, a character might have a strength stat or an intelligence stat. I kind of use that system for these characters as well. So you can think of a running speed stat and a falling speed stat and a friction stat, stuff like that. So if we go into the stat class here, you can see that it all pretty much starts with a base value. So a stat has a base value. So let's say a walking stat has a base value of 2, which means it moves at 2 pixels per frame. So let's say you want to start running and you want to increase the speed stat. You can use that by modifying the base value, but if you want to temporarily increase the walking speed stat, then you can actually add a modifier. So the stat consists of a base value and modifiers which you can add on top of the base value. So here you can see the function where it calculates the final value. So let's say you want to know the current value of the running stat or the walking stat. Then you call this function calculate value, and what it first does is it loops through all the modifiers and multiplies the base value with the value in the modifier. So we can go into the modifier class here, and you can see a modifier pretty much has a flat modification of or a scale modification. So let's say the running stat is 2 pixels per frame, and you add a flat mod of 0.1, then the running speed stats value becomes 2.1. Or if you add a scale modifier of 2, then it's the base value of 2 modified with 2 is 4. So if we go back to the stats, you can see here all the modifiers. So first it executes the scale modifier, then it executes the flat bonus modifier, and in the end it gives you back the final value. So this value is used for pretty much everything: max speed, max falling speed, friction. Maybe a good example is when you're crouching and you're going down a hill, the friction becomes less. So another good example of using the stat is the function I implemented in the last devlog, which is if you do a jump and you land and you jump immediately afterwards, for a short moment you can flip faster. So that's a good example of how a modifier can be used. So coming back to the stat system, this is also used for determining the tricks. So if you look at this class, it's the game manager, and as you might expect, it manages the game, I guess. It calculates all the points and on the tricks you do. So this function sets the player, so the game knows which entity in the game is actually the player. And then it listens for a lot of messages. The game uses a messaging system to communicate between components. And it's also quite handy to detect what the player is actually doing in the game. So you can see here we listen to a bunch of components, like when you land a flip, when you do a vault, but also when you start a combo, when you end a combo. So if we go to the function onEntityFlip, which is called when the player completes a flip, you can see here it first looks at the rotation and then it determines how many flips you did. So did you do a single flip or a double flip, and then you will get points based on that amount of rotation. And what it then does, it creates a score point, which is basically a score you get for the flip that you just did. And then it adds the points to a special component, which is called point holder component. Not very creative, I know. So it adds the points here and it looks for combos. So it looks if you made a combo. If we go back here to the game manager component, you can see the score point consists of the flip type you did, and then there's also the type of point. So you might get points from doing a trick. But if we go to the coin, you can see the points type or the points ID is a different type of coin. So then the game can actually see, are you doing a trick or did you get points by collecting a coin? And with those identifiers, the points holder component can determine the combos. So you can kind of specify, do you want coins and tricks to be able to link together? So can you make a combo by grabbing a coin and then doing a trick? Or do you only want tricks to be able to be linked together, which is what I did right now. You can see there's a combo mask, which is kind of a bit mask, and it only looks for tricks. If you add a coin here at the end of the line, then you can make tricks link into coins, which might be cool later on. Maybe you can make combos, like doing a flip and then grabbing a coin, and maybe that will be like a special coin flip combo or something like that. So the points are added into a combo, and you can see this combo is actually the stat class we determined earlier. So the cool thing about using this stat class is that you can add modifiers. So when you do a flip and then you do a vault, then you can add a modifier on top of that to create like a multiplier. Like in Tony Hawk, when you do a kick flip to a heel flip, you get like a modifier, like the score multiplies by 2. And I can use this stat system to also add these modifiers. Like you saw earlier in the video, when you do a vault the first time, it's 20 points. When you do another vault, it becomes 40 points. So there's like a modifier added for each trick that you do in the combo. So I hope this creates a bit more insight on how the game works behind the screen. It's kind of hard to explain quickly because there's such a huge code base behind the game. But for those who wanted to see more code, I hope it's satisfying enough to see this short glimpse of the implementation. So that's pretty much it for this week. I spent most of the time on the trick text, making it look nice with the little animations and stuff. And I think it looks good. I think it really helps to show what the game is all about. So I will continue polishing that a bit, and then I will also continue on displaying text when you completed like a line, like a gap between two objects or a trick from a certain object to a different one, and that will also really help to show the purpose of the game, show that the game is all about linking moves together and making gaps between objects and making lines. So hopefully by next week I can show you guys some of that. So let me know what you guys think about the trick text. Do you think it's nice? Do you think I should position it somewhere differently? Or should I use a different font or anything like that? And let me know if you guys enjoyed the footage from Japan. Do you want to see more of that? Or do you want me to scrap it altogether? So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys again next week.